could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for pain, pulling a mob, pushing a train. I'll never stop, stick to a lane, pick up the pieces and go rearrange. I'll be the best above all the rest, put me to the test and expect nothing less, your check is I'm chess, what's happening next, yeah. He got the venom, a tangible weapon, no coming in second. This life is a lesson, he got a new engine from pain, that's a blessing. New focus, no guessing, just bold and obsession. All in his possession, you got their attention. I'll leave an impression and take your redemption. Just kill, no discretion, your mind is a weapon. 11-11, it's time for progression, You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep when they see me. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. When they try the chains, you can say no, free me. So he's been looking for somebody who could save him, instead of searching inside for what they gave him. A strong will, strong mind causes mayhem. We could change the world, change times, rearrange them. Staying on pace, running the race. Life is a chase, I don't want a place, I wanna be first. Work till it hurts, dehydrated thirst till I'm in a hearse. High ambitions and the right mind can take you so far. It's like you lived a few lifetimes. Take off from a break off from the weak minds, they can stay soft. You can change lives, you create thoughts, never waste time. You got one shot, you got one life, better pop off. What do you like? Make a dream job. No 9-5, no mean boss, just my life and free thoughts. You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands.
Welcome to another episode of the Fin Posse Podcast. Today I have a very special guest. Y'all know him if you follow the Dolphins. Please welcome the great Alain Poupart. Alain Poupart is the publisher, editor of the Miami Dolphins on Sports Illustrated. He is also the host of the All Dolphins podcast. He's been covering the Dolphins since 1989 for various publications, including Dolphins Digest, the Associated Press, and the Dolphins team website. Thank you for joining us today, sir.
What up, Big C?
How's everything going for you?
Can't complain. You wouldn't want to hear it anyway. All good. I'm ready for the draft to get here already, because all this draft speculation, at some point it gets to be like, enough already.
Yeah, it's absolutely tiresome to continuously to try to guess what the team's gonna do. Yep. You got a new show coming out, right? With TD, Doug, and Omar, right?
Yep, it's going to be every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. It's a live show, as you mentioned, with TD Fence Talk, Dudley Durong, and Omar Kelly, and myself. It's called the Dolphins Collective. I encourage everyone to check it out, just like I encourage everyone to check out the All Dolphins podcast.
When do you guys premiere that? Is it you starting tonight?
We are starting tonight.
All right, beautiful. I'll be there definitely. Let's get into these Dolphins. What do you see the state of this team right now? I mean, with Armstead retiring, that's a big loss. With the loss of Calais, do you feel like if we make the right moves in this draft or add a couple more free agents, this team can compete? Or do you think this is like a lot of people are saying like a soft rebuild?
How about yes to both? How's that for a wimpy answer? No, I don't dismiss the possibility of them. When you use the term competing, I'm assuming you mean competing for the playoffs. I don't see. Yeah. I don't know if I see a scenario where this team could get to being considered a Super Bowl contender. Yeah. But I do think if they add the right pieces between now and September, they could compete for the playoffs. It is a tough AFC, and there are a couple of teams who are going to take some jumps, be better than they were last year. I don't know that Cincinnati is going to miss the playoffs again with 4 games where they score 34 points and lose, or 33 points and lose, whatever it was. I think New England's going to take a big step up, because I happen to think Mike Vrabel's is a very, very good coach, and they made some nice additions in free agency. So, and then the other part of it, soft reset. Yeah, it could be. You mentioned Armstead retiring and Calais leaving. Don't know that either one of those were a gigantic surprise. Yeah. but it hurts nonetheless because you're talking about, you talk about 2 frontline players and 2 leaders on a team.
Room.
Yeah, on a team that doesn't have a ton of leadership. We're going to be honest about it. So, yeah, soft roster reset. And you keep hearing the noise about is Tyreek going to get traded. And if they really wanted to reset or reload, however you want to say, for 2026, you get rid of Tyreek and you swallow hard on his cap number this year. And then that's $51 million of cap space next year that you just created. Not that he would ever play at a $51 million cap number, regardless. But so,
well, do you think there's a scenario that he plays this year with us, and then let's say we wanted to bring him back, they tear up that contract and just make up a new one? Is that possible? Or
there's zero chance that he plays next year under his current contract, because right now the cap number is $51 million with zero guaranteed. So not happening. And they save with, I think it's like $33 million of cap space, or if not more, if they cut him next year. So I just wish the dude, it's like Dolphins I don't think Dolphins really want to trade him, because there's not a universe where they're better without him than they are with him on the field. But at some point it's going to be like, I got to imagine their tolerance level with the dude's got to be like running really low, like enough already with this crap here all the time. I mean, enough already.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like I definitely don't feel there's a world that we're better without Tyreek Hill. But if we're doing a rebuild and we're not trying to necessarily win this year and we're focused on next year, and you don't necessarily see Tyreek Hill part of the team next year, why not cut your losses this year? Why not swallow the bullet and really go for broke? You know what I mean? And get that high draft pick next year instead of winning 7-8 games and not being bad enough to get a high draft pick, but not good enough to do anything.
No, and that, you know what, that's a fair point. But then the thought process becomes, okay, ideally what you want to do is you want to really put yourself in position to make a big move in 2026 while still giving yourself a chance in 2025. If you just dump Tyreek for the sake of dumping him and getting him off the books this year, and the other part of the problem with Tyreek is, what's his market value right now?
Zilch.
Yeah, it's like, I can't imagine it's that great. And the thing is, if he's healthy, the dude's still a major factor. And the other part that I don't know that fans really understand this or acknowledge it enough. Even if he's not catching passes, the respect he commands from defenses opens everything up on offense. Like all those intermediate passes or the short passes. Well, thank Tyreek for a lot of that. Tyreek and Waddle, but mostly Tyreek, because the defenses are so scared of him, they back up and it creates this room inside. But that's the dilemma, going back to my original point, that how much I don't know that the Dolphins ever would want to be in a position where it's not 2019, where 2019 was clearly, we're clearing our books, we're getting rid of high price players or not part of the big plan. This is not quite that. That was a hard rebuild. This would be maybe a soft rebuild where the team wants to put itself in a position to do big things next offseason, but also still try to compete and make the playoffs in 2025 and God forbid, win a playoff game.
Well, I was really frustrated when we came out and didn't make a splash in free agency. Now, I didn't think that we were going to go after any of the big name guys. We just couldn't make the contracts work. But I thought we'd go after some of the mid-level guys, because I felt this team wasn't that far away. If you look back at 2023, which I think that was the year Tua was healthy the whole year, I felt like we could have competed. We suffered a boatload of injuries at the end, but we were up 4 or 5 games on Buffalo with 6-7 weeks left. We were talking about a number 1 seed, and then just injury after injury after injury to such key positions. And if you look at our offensive line, it was phenomenal. And when they were healthy, we had the number 1 offense in all of football, dynamic, scoring 70 points on Denver. You know what I mean? And I know Denver wasn't a good team, but I really feel like we could have made it to the AFC Championship game. And I feel like if we could have filled some of those holes, if we could have got this offensive line to play up to that level of the 2023 team, that we could have made a push this year. So it's frustrating to me that it's like, who are you going out there and getting? You bring Liam Eichenberg back, which I feel like you could have bring Isaiah Wynn back for around the same amount of money. And Isaiah Wynn is clearly the better player.
Yep.
So
he's not durable.
I agree, but I don't think either one of them should be seen as a starter. But I mean, as of right now, Liam Eichenberg is a starter, correct?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they don't have any better options. But we're also, what's today, April 8th?
Yeah.
I think it would be, and I wrote about this on the website, is like, to me, with the money they gave Liam, if you saw the contract, it's nothing. And to get a guy with major starting experience as a backup who can play everywhere on the line, love that signing. Now, if he's in the starting lineup the first Sunday in September, then I don't like it quite as much. But as a depth move, it's fine. James Daniels, you hope, comes back from the Achilles injury, and that's been a big part of the problem on the offensive line. It's not just that it's not been bad, and I know, man, I'm sick of hearing how bad the guards are and all that. A bigger problem last year, I didn't hear anybody complaining about the guards early in the season when they were like kind of doing good things. It's where it started to go south is when Austin Jackson got hurt, wound up on IR, and then Teron Armstead's knee kind of flared up to where he stopped practicing. And it was about around that time. If you look, it was after the Buffalo game, I want to say. Yeah. Austin goes on IR, Teron stops practicing, and he's on the injury report every week with the knee. And that's when the running game went south and the offensive line really started having problems. Well, the issues were at tackle. There wasn't that guard. The guard position was the same the whole year. Not to say it was great, but I don't know that I'm necessarily falling in line with this whole notion. Guards suck, Dolphins offense struggles, get better guards, Dolphin offense great. Yeah, I don't know if it's that simple.
Yeah. Now, there's a lot of the Dolphins fans that I've talked to are stressing out about Armstead, and they're ready to pull the plug on Paul. Do you think Patrick Paul is the answer at the left tackle position, or do you think it's too early to tell?
Yeah, I don't know, but you got to find out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that'd be like me taking $200 and going to go flush it down the toilet right now. I mean, you used a second round pick on him last year. Obviously, you had a conviction that was going to be your left tackle of the future. Okay, let's see. There were times last year when I was like, yeah, that dude looks apart. And there are other times it's like, so I don't know. There's reason for hope, reason for concern, but the Dolphins don't have a choice. Again, this is not the way to build a franchise if you're just going to go ahead. Let's go draft whoever it is who could become available at 13. Will Campbell, Armand Membu, Kelvin Banks, and stick him at left tackle, and Patrick Paul, guess what? Learn some more on the bench. It's not the way to go from where I sit.
Absolutely. That's how I feel. There's also Jordan Phillips, Jalen Phillips, my fault. Trade rumors going around, but I don't understand how you could possibly trade Jalen. His trade value's got to be almost nothing too. I mean, after two injury plagued seasons, I mean, what are you really going to get for him? I feel like keeping him is the best bet. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that one's tricky because right now the Dolphins are on the hook. As my daughter here disappears, a little form in the background is her. She was unaware that she's in the shot. Hi, Sarah. Okay. The Dolphins are in a tough spot because right now they're on the hook for 13.1 million or 13.3 because he's on the 5th-year option. Mm-hmm. They're not crazy about the idea of extending him because of the 2 major injuries. So what do you do with him? You extend him, you rework his contract, but Jalen right now is sitting. He's got 13.3 in his hand right now. Why would he want to change that number for 2025 if it's not to his financial benefit? So he's operating from a position of strength. The Dolphins are kind of stuck with that. I'm with you, though. I don't know exactly what you can get for a guy who's coming off an Achilles and then an ACL. So that's a pickle. And then and then the worst part for the Dolphins is they not have one guy with an injury concern at the edge defender. They got two, with Bradley Chubb being the other one. So I can see where the Dolphins would be considering a trade if they can get something of value in return. I don't know if that's realistic though.
Yeah, I just don't see him getting anything of value. And I mean, he was a first round pick. I don't think he's lived up to the first round pick draft status, but I still think that there's enough there to hope that he can contribute something down the road. I just feel like the most you're going to get is a fourth if you're lucky. What do you see this team's biggest draft needs?
Oh, it's got it. I mean, crystal clear. It's cornerback and D tackle. I would put interior offensive line third or fourth. Interior defensive line and safety as the second tier, but cornerback and D tackle are screaming. They let go Kendall Fuller, which I get it. You know, he was hurt a lot last year, and he's not getting any younger. But right now, you're looking at who? Jalen Ramsey, Cater Cole, who's your nickel, and then Storm Duck, Ethan Bonner, Cam Smith. Don't know that any of those would inspire a ton of confidence. That's not to say that one of them can become a good player, but to go into a season relying on one of those guys, not sure that's ideal. And then at D tackle, it's Zach Sealer and who else?
Yeah. The cupboard's bare, and there's no one to sign in free agency. I mean, that's bare too.
Jordan Phillips. Bring back Jordan Phillips.
Yeah, I mean that wouldn't be a bad move. I'm all right with that moving on from Fuller from corner, but you weren't in a hurry to spend the money. I mean, we got some cap room right now. Why not keep him until you find a replacement? You know what I mean? Well,
I think there might be like long-term issues with his knees.
Oh, okay.
Because if you notice, he was released mid-February. He hasn't signed with anybody. And it's not like he doesn't count against the compensatory pick formula because he was released. So if a team really thought he could be an upgrade to their cornerback position, I don't know that you'd wait until the draft unless that's what you really want to do. But I don't know that any team's in a hurry to sign him, and that's why the Dolphins moved on from him.
Xavier Howard said he's ready to play. Would you bring him in, check him out?
If you could make it work financially, yeah. You absolutely would have to check him out, though, because it's another guy. And I don't know the Dolphins necessarily are going to be inclined to go that route because his last couple of years with the Dolphins, it was kind of one nick after another. Then he had the fairly significant foot injury at the end of 2023. And I don't know that he's going to play for cheap either, so it might be tough to make it work. But he gets on the roster, he's immediately second best cornerback.
What's a perfect Miami Dolphins draft look like for you?
Travis Hunter falls to 13. That's not unrealistic?
Realistic.
Oh, okay, sorry. I think Will Johnson, the cornerback from Michigan, if you wound up being there at 13, there's no guarantee of that. I think Barron from Texas. Like, to me, it would be the first round would be Barron from Texas, Will Johnson from Michigan. Kenneth Grant from Michigan has his warts. Not everybody's totally in love with him, but he intrigues the hell out of me. I see him, and what I've seen of him, and I hear comps of him, like potentially, like, Dexter Lawrence. I'm like, okay, I'm good with that.
Yeah, that's my guy.
Yeah, so he'd be very intriguing to me. Trade back is also something I would explore from the Dolphins because if you get to 13, and I don't know, 3 of those guys are still out there. Why not trade back? If you can swing it, obviously it takes 2 to tango. That would be one another thing I would consider. I've heard the notion, like, if Tyler Warren's there at 13, to me, it's like,
no.
If you take Tyler Warren, you're convinced he's a 10-time Pro Bowl guy, and you're definitely playing for 2026 and beyond. Otherwise, there's no point. Same with Ashton Genty. It's like, okay, great running back, great prospect, but exactly how many high picks on running backs are you going to spend? I mean, you did HN 2 years ago, Jalen Wright last year. How many of those guys do you need? So that to me would be the ideal, one of those 3 guys that I mentioned. trading back maybe Emanwari from South Carolina at safety. If you get into the early 20s, there's better positional value there. I'm not big on this idea of taking a tackle, moving him to guard in the first round as much as cornerback or safety or DT. But if Johnson and Barron are off the board, and if you don't have a DT you like enough, I guess. But it has to be somebody like I heard some people mention Tyler Booker, the guard from Alabama, who's purely a guard, who's very, very physical, who's not an outside zone scheme type of guy, who's a bad fit. And not only that, he's not a position fit in terms of the value of the position. I had this argument on X on Monday, back and forth, a bunch of people to me why you do not draft a guard in the first half of the first round. And somebody threw out, well, Quentin Nelson was great. Yeah, he might go in the Hall of Fame. How many times have the Colts reached the AFC Championship game with him?
True. Yeah, I feel like you could trade back and probably get Grant in that 20, 22, 23 range, and then maybe trade up in the second round. And I think Malachi Starks could be available at the beginning of the second. Safeties, if you look back the last 5-6 years, safeties don't typically go in the first round. There's only 5 or 6, a handful that have gone in the last 6 years. So I think you think Malachi Starks could fall to the top of the second. And do you like Malachi?
I don't like the fact that he didn't make a ton of plays last year. I like his profile in that he can play. See, to me, the guy I'm looking for this defense, and that I think Anthony Weaver would like to have, is somebody can use like Kyle Hamilton. A little bit all over the place in the secondary. Malachi Starks is that kind of guy. But again, not a lot of plays. I like my safeties who get their hands on the ball.
All right. And before I get you out of here, I appreciate the hell out of you. This means a lot. I look up to you. I watch the show every day. Favorite Dolphins memory, favorite Dolphins player?
Oh, Jesus. Man, you're talking. First game I covered that wasn't full time, but it was like 1985. It was a late Sunday afternoon game against the Jets at the Orange Bowl, and this was one of those. At that time, they allowed reporters to be on the field in the final 6 minutes of the game, not just the TV people, but all the reporters. And the Orange Bowl, which I'm going to guess predates you, these bunch of aluminum benches, but when the fans got into it, I mean, you felt that thing shake. And the Dolphins won 21-17 on a 50-yard touchdown pass from Marino to Duper in the final minute. And that place was like, I mean, it was like shaking, rocking. So that was a very cool memory. The Miami Miracle is one that obviously jumps up, except the only problem with that one is I was writing for the team website at the time, and the idea was to hit send for the story the second the game ended. So I'm writing Dolphins, because remember the Patriots were really good. So I'm writing about the Patriots, about the Dolphins really putting up a good effort against the Patriots. Unfortunately, it's going to end in a 33-28 loss. And I'm looking down, looking up, and I'm like, oh, wait a second. And then all of a sudden it's like retap. So I don't know if I got to completely soak in the moment of the craziness of it. Because I was like focusing half and half, but that was another one that was wild. The playoff win, yes, that last one, 24 plus years ago against the Colts was fabulous and heart pounding too. That was really cool. So that's 3 right there. I would also tell you in 2016, the Dolphins spent a week in California. They were playing at the Chargers, at the Rams, back to back. Spent the whole week in California with the team. I was writing for the team website at the time, and that was a cool back to back. It just the whole thing. Because if you remember those 2 games, they won against the Rams. They were down 10-0 with 5 minutes left. Hadn't done a thing offensively, and then 2 touchdown passes by Tannehill, including one to Devontae to win the game. I don't know, a minute left. And then the previous week, it was against the Chargers. They had 4 picks in the fourth quarter alone, including Kiko Alonso's pick 6 with about 2 minutes to win the game. And if you remember that whole season was like, Dolphins were not a great team, but they were solid. And man, they just kept finding a way to win the game at the end, wound up making the playoffs. And then
is that the year that Calais took Tannehill's knee out?
Yes. Well, yes, it was.
Yeah.
But we should mention, to be fair, it was completely clean.
Yeah, it was a clean play. It was a clean play.
Yeah.
Just unlucky.
No, absolutely. And then Matt Moore comes in and wins the next two games against the Jets and against Buffalo, with Ajayi getting his third 200-yard rushing game. Favorite players? I'm going to get away from we're talking about as a guy or as a player to watch?
Either or.
Okay. Player to watch, Ricky Williams was just
Phenomenal.
Yeah, and it wasn't so much. I mean, he was a great athlete. He was a baseball player too, but the vision and the instincts was like, holy crap. And then that has nothing to do with this. But then a few years before that, there's another one that I saw. If you don't remember the name, Cecil Collins.
I do.
Okay. Well, that dude, I saw him in training camp in the preseason, and I was like, holy crap, he preceded Ricky in Miami, but he was another one where I was like wowed by his instincts. Of course,
just going to stay out of trouble, right?
Yeah, there you go. Other players, I'm going to throw out Devon Best just because of his ability. His route running was just so fabulous from the start. I remember him as a rookie free agent in 2008, just thinking to myself, that dude's always open. I mean, he is always open. And not fast, not big, but he had such a fabulous feel for getting open. As far as dudes, Mark Dixon is one that jumps out to me. I love Mark Dixon. Yeah. He was such a he was interesting. I'll give you a quick anecdote here. He was so good with the media because he would always give you these really thoughtful answers, these clever answers, that every time newspaper guys were doing like a general idea piece, they would always use him. They would always quote him because his quotes were so good, to the point where eventually the editors started telling the writers, like, you know what, why don't you quote somebody else instead of always going to Dixon? But he was just so good. And the funny part about him is you talk to him and he would tell you he was the worst offensive lineman in the history of the NFL. And then meanwhile, Jimmy Johnson is basically talking about how he's the best lineman on the team. So he was very, very interesting to talk to. Chad Pennington was a gem too. Fitzpatrick was a gem. Way back when, Mark Logan, I'm gonna throw out Mark Logan because insanely good dude. He was a running back like in the late 80s. Michael Thomas, also a great guy. And recently departed, leaving, I should say, not departed, it's a bad word, but Calais and Toronto said complete class acts as well. So those would be some. I'm sure I'm leaving out more obvious ones that I would go, them, but at the moment, those are the guys I would go with.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you again. Tell the people again where they can find you, TD, Omar, and you on the daily basis. And I would love to be able to get an autograph from you somehow if we can work that out. You know what I mean? Like I said, I look up to you. I watch your show daily. I inspire to be like you, and I appreciate it.
Aim higher, my man. Aim way higher.
Well, even the Expos, like Vlad Guerrero back in the day was my guy.
Oh, nice. You're not from Montreal, are you?
No. I'm from New York, but okay. I loved Vlad Guerrero. That he was an animal. The Expos had a lot of great players come through Montreal. They did. They just never kept them around at the same time. But
they didn't have the money to do it. And this is why, but Vlad Guerrero was like, if you ask me my favorite Expos player of all time, that might be him right there. It's a tie between him and Tim Raines.
Okay. Yeah. But tell everybody where they can find you tonight. Absolutely.
Well, every day, check out the All Dolphins podcast. On Tuesday nights at 9 p.m., it's going to be a live show. It's called the Dolphins Collective, with TD Finstock, Doug Lee Durong, Omar Kelly, and myself. And I'm sure there'll be some fireworks because you got some opinionated dudes who don't mind speaking their piece. And then my written content, as well as that of my team, is on Miami Dolphins on SI.com.
Wonderful. Again, thank you. And hey, listen, if Chris Perkins ain't available or someone, I would love to come on your show sometimes. It'd be an honor. But thank you again, and I hope to talk to you again soon, and hopefully I can get that autograph.
No, dude, absolutely. You got it. And thanks for having me on.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. The great Alain Poupart. I'll talk to you guys later. Fins up, baby.